We got, ladies and gentlemen, the inimitable Mr. Lionel is joining us right now. There he is. How you doing, Lionel?
Hello.
Excellent. This is like a bad Zoom.
It is. It's. I had a bad Zoom last night with my family for Easter. We did an entire family Zoom for Easter, and it's just not the same.
No, it's also forced, cordiality. Hey, we're talking to each other. You know what I'm finding out, and maybe you have as well. Nobody can talk on the phone. I've called people that I thought I knew, and they can't speak on the phone. They lost all semblance of how to talk on the phone, and they'll text you. It's like, hey, Doug? Yeah. It's me, man. Yeah. It's horrible.
You like a good phone conversation, Lionel, as opposed to a texting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With friends, people I know. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's become a thing of the past. I think a lot of people just prefer, like, get it over with. There's no more pleasure in hearing from somebody that you enjoy their company, their conversation. That's gone. Now it's just strictly business. Here's what I needed to tell you. Now you text to me what you need to tell me, and we'll dispense with the pleasantries.
There's also one topic.
Let's get down to let's get down to brass tacks here. What have you noticed about this story, this whole thing that stinks? Come on, tell me what.
Okay, the China numbers are complete bullshit. We've based a lot of it on the China numbers of how we're going to respond to it, and the Italy numbers. We've based it on that and I just said, without knowing and having complete national testing of how many people have this and how many people have had it. Those are the most important variables in this equation. Then we can't know what the actual percentage is of people that are dying from it, so we don't know how serious it really is.
Right.
I think we've been bamboozled. I think this is a ploy to destroy the economy, which is working very well. I do think that people are dying from it. It's not a one end of the other. I don't think they're faking the dead people, but this is an opportunity where they've had they've destroyed the economy, tanked it in order to try to filthy up Donald Trump for the election.
And I also find it odd that in China they were only allowed to fly internationally as opposed to across their own country, which to me speaks to some kind of chemical warfare.
Yeah, how did Beijing not get it? How did no other big city in China?
I got to tell you, you especially, Cumia, you who I could never even get to look at a geoengineering or a quote chemtrail. You're saying, I don't know. I think maybe this is. You've gone. I like you. I like the new you. This is something. I think maybe you woke up here. Let me ask you a couple of things. Let me just jump in. No particular issue, by the way. An order, I should say. I am not, first of all, anti-vaccine, anti-drug, anti-pharmaceutical, anti-medicine, anti-immunology, anti-antibodies. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not one of those people. But let me ask you, gentlemen, one of two things. Who appointed Bill Gates emperor, vaccine emperor? Let me give you an example. Let's assume that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Mark Cuban decides that he is going to conduct something called Event 201, which creates a pandemic attack of syphilis. He is the syphilis god. He talks about syphilis. And you would say, Mark Cuban, why is he? Well, he's a billionaire. Well, who's Bill Gates? He's a software designer. He's whatever. But for some reason, he's different. And then all of a sudden, Mark Cuban decides he's going to open up 7 different factories around the world to come up with a syphilis vaccine. Most people would say, wait a minute, excuse me. Who invited you in on this? Who's asking you? We're not going to take your syphilis vaccine. You're Mark Cuban. But for some reason or another, and I don't know why, people are sitting back because Bill Gates is saying, I have created this vaccine. And gentlemen, there's more to it than this. MIT has already said this. They want to use a micro needle. Remember when you were a kid and they had the little TB test? They would put this 4-prong thing in your arm, and if it turned red, you were going to die or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, now it's this device. It's called a micro needle. Sounds like an old nickname of yours in high school. Anyway, you place this micro needle, and it will place in you a quantum quantum dot dye. So what it does is when you release this is all, and our friends at your studios will come up with this eventually, though we're in different situations now. But it will leave a dye, a type of a dye which is invisible to the naked eye. But a phone app will allow people to come up and see when you've had your last vaccine. And the reason for it, according to Bill Gates, is because of paperwork. Because a lot of these people all over the world are unable to keep their papers. And this is not going to identify who does and doesn't have the vaccine, which it will, but it's because of the paperwork. Now,
it's helping you. It's convenient.
If I told you, forget the nefarious thing about, eugenics. I'm not even talking about that. We're just plain old. Remember that guy Shkreli? Remember the guy, the pharma bro and all that dude? Okay, what if I said,
Shkreli?
I've got a guaranteed 7.6 billion people dying to take our drug. It's called the population of the world. Forget Vioxx. Forget anything Accutane, whatever your drug is. Forget aspirin. Everybody on the planet is going to want to buy our drug, our vaccine. And it's going on the market now. And if you want to get nefarious, if you want to get into a little bit of a conspiracies, you might call it, we'll also be able to track every single human being by virtue of this microdot, which they will gladly take. This is every evil genius's dream since the beginning of time. And President Trump, God love him, hasn't so much as asked Bill Gates, who in the fuck made you emperor of vaccines? I'm the boss, not you. Now think about this. Now, let me also add, what if I said to you, hey, look, Anthony, we got a problem. What? This chloroquine's coming up. And it's apparently doing a good job with azithromycin, and it's, shit. What do we do? If they take this, if they get better, nobody's going to want to take this vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
Call out Fauci. Fauci, we don't have enough of it. The results are anecdotal. Anecdotal? They've been taking this stuff forever. It's perfect. What do we do now? Quick, gin up the... here's a new one today. South Korea said they're reinfecting. Fauci the other day says, oh, but by the way, don't worry, it's coming back in a new wave. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what's happening. But if I were to write a script and that were the storyline, it would make sense. Because whenever you get the least bit happy or something, they hit you with something else.
They hit you with, make you depressed again. Now
but Bill Gates, it's not like he needs the money. I guess that's the only thing I'm wondering. Is it power? Why do you think? I mean, that's...
You can always stop the analysis with the motivation. Like, what does he do? What does he want that? He has been talking about this since day one. How about not Bill Gates? People behind him who say, you be our guy. You're it. Whatever. I don't know. There are people who will give him the Nobel Prize. Thank you. He's the Jonas Salk of our time. Let me ask you two gentlemen this. Let's assume they say this comes out. You're going to take it? Now, they haven't had time to test it. Now, chloroquine, Fauci is demanding that they test it again for the millionth time. But the vaccine, we don't have time to test it. Just take it. In China, let me tell you what they're doing in China. And watch China, because remember, if they sneeze, we get a cold. China's got a deal right now where when you go on to the public transportation, everybody has a cell phone. And everybody has a little barcode, which they will then turn at this. And if it says green, you don't have it. Or the green could be you've taken the vaccine, but you have tested positive. Yellow means I don't know what it is. Red, you've got it, or whatever it is. This is already done now. Now, You take a country like us who are dying to go out, who are going crazy. We've been through the board games. We've been through, we're walking around. Some people haven't bathed in a week, we're going, and somebody says, I'll let you out, but you're going to take the test, you're going to take the vaccine, and then people will do anything. That recently my wife and I drove up around West Point and Bear Mountain, and there was this large area where they were testing for this. It was a big parking lot. There was nobody in there. I mean, there were tents set up, but there were no cars.
Yeah.
I live across the street from the Comfort. There's nobody there. I mean, we don't see cars. You see the Marines there. Down the street is a Javits Center, 3,000 beds. What's it, 20 people in there?
Yeah.
Yet I'm being told that somewhere in, I guess, the parks, they're burying dead bodies like Potter's Field. Like it looks like Antietam or Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So what reality do I pick?
Right. What reality? You're absolutely right. And that's the problem with this whole thing. No one is getting a straight answer about anything. So when you hear the medical experts say, and once you get on Twitter and you say something, someone will always jump on you and say, well, are you a medical expert? Because they said, and I go, they said nothing. No one has said anything. First of all, like I said, there's not enough variables put in place to know how many people have had it or have it right now. And I like the idea that you're saying about this being, and it is nefarious. It is something evil to try to get an entire population of the globe to get in line and do something. And if there is some type of tracking or something that you could see if somebody has been inoculated, that is a tracking device. That is some type of keeping track of people, which has been a huge thing, like you've said, since the beginning of time, a dream.
Let me go a step further. Let's be crazy. Let's do a kind of Austin Powers, mini-me or whatever the hell it is. I've got a new one that I say, so they think that what we're doing is tracking them. But they put in a little nano something. Watch this. How would you like to get rid of Portugal? Watch this. What was that? I don't know. Now, let me throw something into this mix as well. And for some reason, I don't know where this comes from. Have you heard the 5G connection? Have you gentlemen heard this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the towers are going up, and people are saying that there's problems around the towers with people's health and whatnot. Yeah.
What's your take? Is that
my take? Again, I have no idea. I've heard this type of stuff with radio towers, the original cell phone towers. Everything has always caused a problem. No one wants to live near them. But this 5G one, maybe because of social media.
Wiring stuff.
Yeah. But that's kind of taken off as the new deadly tower.
Well, let's do a couple of things here. Let me tell you what I've heard. Would either of you gentlemen live underneath power lines? Just plain old power lines, where you see them for miles and miles, those towers.
I'd rather not.
I did. I think it's why I have headaches.
If I had my druthers, I would.
I'd rather not.
I'd rather not. Hence the word druther from I'd rather.
Anyway, druther.
Oh. What they're saying is, this is what they're saying. Now, whether this is true or not, in 1918, you remember this, the introduction, they claim, of radio waves. Now, I'm not even accepting this. I'm telling you what the prescribed theory is.
Yeah.
This started from a cook in what now is Fort Riley, Kansas, who was infected here, went across to, he was in, it's Fort Riley, Kansas now, but it was a different name then, goes to Europe and basically destroys the world. This one guy, he had like 106 degree fever. Now, I'm thinking to myself, wow, where did he get that one from? I mean, other people have been sick, they've had fevers. Why this? All right. In 1918, they say, lo and behold, there's this event. Then, in 1979, another influenza mother 1G, the first generation, was introduced. 1991 was 2G, and we had cholera. 1998 was 3G, that was influenza. 4G came out in 2009, that's H1N1. And lo and behold, in the New York area, in around December, when they flipped the switch, because you've seen these towers everywhere. You've seen them. People say, what is that? Remember, have you seen the ones with the fake limbs coming out? The fake.
Yeah. Try to make them look like trees.
Yeah, it's almost like, what are you doing? Well, anyway, son of a gun, and I don't know, they said there's something that affects respiratory. What is it? Why here? Now, it's here. Now, let me argue against that. There's about 185 countries that have this. About 5 countries only have 5G. Are you saying there's a lot of international travel going on? I mean, for that. So that's one argument against it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand that. Also, New York happens to be an international hub, and Verizon and others tended to open up and to crank up 5G here. I think Butte, Montana might not have been the best place if you're going to start a 5G network. Maybe these two overlap.
Right.
What's this? You happen to have this. Maybe they're making the wrong correlation. I don't know. But some people are burning towers, and that's not helpful. But it's something. Remember, whenever you hear something, whenever you hear it, don't dismiss it completely. Just say, okay, you've got to prove it. But just remember, they didn't bring up, FM. They didn't bring up, they brought this up, and it might be worth looking at.
You never know. You never know. There's something else that I guess Apple and Google are working together on an app where it works with the Bluetooth, and you'll go around and if you're on a train or a restaurant or a store, your phones will chat with each other.
Yes.
And whoever's near you will be recorded. If you're near someone, it'll be recorded with them. And then if that person ever gets the flu in the next 14 days, they can put, I tested positive. Everyone's phone that they've been around for those 14 days will now pop up and say, you have been next to somebody that has the virus. Right. While it seems on the outside like a nice thing, a helpful, safe thing, like every other thing that winds up invading our privacy, it's always presented at first as a convenience, as a help to you, the people. We're helping you. And it turns into something a lot worse and a lot more sneaky and a lot more liberties snatching. What do you think of that one? Because obviously you heard about it.
Violate HIPAA laws almost immediately?
Well, it's up to the person if they want to tell everybody that they now have it. So
wait a minute.
But is it?
I know, right?
Yeah.
I think
you bring up a very good point about HIPAA laws. First, couple of things that we all know. Whatever they tell you is bullshit, number one. Number two, whenever you read something in the newspaper, it's 5 years old. So they've already got this. They've already got it.
True.
And they're letting you know now, hey, we have an idea. We're going to roll this thing out. Because your phone is constantly changing. It's this great thing that fixes itself. The idea that we have to go out, we're buying new phones and say, what a bunch of... We're buying... It's changing itself. It's already... The hardware is changing. But anyway, not only will it do that, but one day you're going to say, hey, wait a minute. Ooh, it's like a GPS, not a GPS, but like a Foursquare or some kind of a friend. Find my friend. Have you been tested? Yes. I'm not talking to you. Or have you been vaccinated? I will know. You'll have these little who's around you. Do you ever have that? Who's around you? Well, who's around you who's been vaccinated? And when that stigma starts, and by the way, you brought up a part about HIPAA. Where is it that says, if I tell you this, if I go get, swab, and by the way, I've heard some nasty results of how you're checked. This is not a pleasant thing.
No, they shove that thing right in your face to your brain.
I mean, you're doing like
candy after.
You feel like, here's one for you. You feel like Rosemary Kennedy. Remember
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, about 4 people got that, but very good. Very, very good. So we'll leave that right there. That's the civil libertarian part of it. Then we have this part. Who's running the show? The president, Cuomo. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is the best. He is the most lucid, calming, authoritarian, paternalistic. He's perfect. Mayor de Blasio has no idea what he's going to do. He's in a pissing match now with Governor Cuomo.
Losing tremendously.
Yeah, insane.
Cuomo came out one day and all of a sudden he said, I want to know about the ventilator. And he came up, he has an accent. I don't know where this is. Where was the ventilator? I can't find the ventilator. I believe the ventilator.
It is some kind of an almost Italian accent.
Yeah.
Like he kind of sounds like his dad used to sound a little. But, I mean, did he never leave the house the first 10 years he was... It's like Werner Oland, who played the Swede who played Charlie Chan, doing Mario Cuomo. It's Swedish. It's lilting. I want to know the ventilator. All right. So in December, Santa Claus comes from the birds. It's weird. Anyway, they said, hey, Andrew, they love it. You're folksy. You're warm. You're conveying more than just data. So the next day he came out, he goes, when I was a boy, we had sausage, and my mother, we call it gravy. You may call it sugo or salt. Around the Cuomo house, we call it gravy. And he went on about the sausage and what is he doing? And they're going, no, a little bit. Meanwhile, Chris Cuomo, his brother, said, I got it. It was so bad that I shook. This is Chris Cuomo from CNN. That I chipped a tooth. Yeah.
I'm dying. You look pretty good to me. Oh, you're right. You're right. No. I'm sorry. I just got excited for a moment. You sure you have it? Of course I have it. Can we ever see a copy of that test? No. How many people do you think say they have it? How many? Do you think maybe your agent said, hey, listen, Cumia, do me a favor. You've been kind of let's say you come up with it. You test positive. You've tested positive for more things in your life. One more is not going to kill you. So
usually
how do I know? Now, everybody's got it. Everybody. I mean, this is just, it is, we've turned into this. And this is, who needs studios? This is, my wife calls it correction 2020. I don't want studios anymore. I want this. I want you in the rumpus room. I want you in the basement playing cards. I don't want this. Whatever. It's done.
Don't you think it's done? It's showing, first of all, that it can be done. It's working. No one has to go to these big studios that are sponsored by businesses, and no one has to do that anymore. We don't care. As long as I just want to get the truth. I don't care if you're in your bathroom, sitting on the throne, telling me what's going on. As long as it's the truth, I don't care where you do it. But one thing I have noticed are the amounts of books that people like putting behind them. You have a modest collection of books, and I assume you've read them also. Not like a lot of people. There's people with libraries of books behind them that haven't read them. I also see your Emmy.
That I have. And also my picture with George Jones and the president.
See, there you go. So those are all legitimate things. You like baseball. Some proclamation is back there.
You can watch me on YouTube. This is my thing. This is my
501 Jeans.
Let me tell you what's interesting also. Let's take you from I have seen you, and I'm sure you've seen the genius when you'll walk in and you'll start riffing in your normal studio, which basically I think was an abortion clinic in the 30s. It's weird. It's very strange. And I hope to God there's no Wuhan connection, because that place is a sweatshop.
It really is.
Whip cracking, and you've got people with actual coolie hats. The guy who played Hop Sing, I've seen them. They actual coolies.
Seen him in the elevator. Yes.
With some treadle machine. Can we go now? All right. You'll come out, you'll walk in, and you'll riff as long as you want. You see, go back and watch SNL, Kate McKinnon, the genius. These other people, no prompter, no writing,
Nope.
no jokes, they die. You ever had a comedian on who dies? There's nothing there. And you see who's got it. Anybody who's been in radio, how many times have you said the lines are down, the transmitter's down? I think, go, riff.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah,
no problem.
You gotta still, you have to know what your audience wants and give it to them, regardless of what's happening. Yeah,
exactly. Go, please.
Oh no, I was gonna get back a little bit to the conspiratorial part of this whole coronavirus thing, which, by the way, I don't even think it's conspiracy doesn't fit. I don't know. Does conspiracy even fit this situation?
Does it seem odd,
I think we're just being lied to.
Yeah, doesn't it seem odd that we've been building up this victim culture and using shame and shaming everybody for, whatever it is, xenophobic, whatever. Now we're actually using shame to keep people inside, to tell them if they go out and live their lives, they're killing people.
Grandma
who
will
are
die.
Victims and elderly. And that's what bothers me the most, is we're essentially telling people that if they want to live their lives, they're a fucking murderer. That's what's bothering me about this whole thing. It's absurd.
There's also, I believe, something called learned helplessness, wonderful psychological thing in which, for example, this doctrine, in the old days when a circus elephant would have a chain around its paw or leg, whatever you call it.
Whatever you call it, a hoof.
And they would not.
That's where they keep the stuff.
No, not the trunk, but anyway, but they would have it chained to a stump, and eventually they said, just put the chain on the leg, it'll stand there.
Ah, yeah.
It just figures, oh, I can get away? Okay. It's like the dog. Years ago, they would learn helplessness when they would zap a dog. The dog would see the red light, okay, eat the pellet. If it makes him say, oh, he gets shocked one time and say, oh, I figured it out, I got it. And then they said, start zapping the dog. And the dog would realize, wait a minute. And then finally, after it couldn't figure out what was happening, couldn't figure out the rules, couldn't understand why they kept changing it, it just sat there. And you zap it.
Yeah.
Learn helplessness, battered spouse syndrome. It teaches us. 9/11, we were scared out of our minds. All right, Grandma, take your shoes off. Aunt B from Des Moines, you might be Al-Qaeda. What? Take off your shoes. And there was no place. Remember the old ladies at first? Take your shoes off. No shoehorn. No place. Then they said, put your shoes back on. Don't worry about it. Oh, you've got, is this? How much is this? Oh, this, okay, this is 4 ounces. No, 3 ounces. Take them out. Laptop's no good. Laptop's out. Walk through the backscatter ionizing radiation. No, the magnetometer will do. And we change our mind every week. And you're like this. What? Okay, sure. Spit. Spit? You want me to spit? Drop your pants. Nude. We'll grab you. We'll grab you. You don't want to be. They wanted to see what will we do? Yeah. Remember after the Boston Marathon, 2 guys as, who was it? Howie Carr calls them flashbang and speed bump. Remember the one he ran over?
And he ran over his brother, yeah.
They threw the grenade inside the boat, that'll wake him up. Anyway, 2 people, they shut down Boston. They were inside. They said, go in. Cars coming in. Armor.
Yeah.
Personnel vehicles, guns, kind of like beta test martial law. They gave in for 2 people. The whole place. They stopped Amtrak from New York to Boston. Don't tell me somebody didn't say, wow, this is like laboratory. Who knew?
Yeah.
Just give in. And we were like this. Do we wear a mask? No. Can I go like this? No. Can I put a sock in my? Can I put maybe a rag? Can I Bazooka Joe? What about my eyes? We're buying toilet paper. Please explain to me the toilet paper. Please. Either one of you, please.
Figure it out.
It's just monkey see, monkey do. Somebody told you needed it, so a bunch of people went out and bought it. There's no logic behind it.
Monkey see, monkey do, as some people.
Look, they just throw it. They don't even use. They don't even use toilet paper.
They do throw their shit.
We've been told contradictory information
Muslims, right?
during this entire thing. Yeah, during this entire thing. So at first we heard masks no good. Don't wear a mask. A mask could actually give it to you easier if you wear a mask. And then it's like, oh, you have to wear a mask. Now, it's ridiculous. Why? And whoever told me that, I will look at them now and say, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So if it was an expert, it's this guy. Next time I see him, I go, that's the asshole that said, don't wear a mask, wear a mask.
Well, what were N95 masks for? To protect the fucking paint and asbestos from
Right.
us? Nobody
Yeah.
figured out what a mask did. It makes no
And
sense.
We became N95.
You know?
It's like, is that N93? What series is that? N94? N95? No. Who makes it? No. Nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually it was so bad. We walked into this place that said hand sanitizer. Soap works great because it has a lipid capsid, this thing. Oh, and by the way, how much you want to bet? How much do you want to bet that molecule looks nothing like that?
Oh, yeah.
How much do you want to bet? It looks like a ball with cloves. You ever see like when you get a little clove?
It does look like cloves stuck in a meatball.
It looked like a little Prince planet with more roses.
It's like they're called virions, those things. And by the way, they're ACE2 receptors, and they go for the conjunctiva, the white part of the eye. They go for the nose, and I mean they're this thing, and it's unlike anything else. But anyway, when it starts off, but like you said, it's not that somebody said, no, Anthony, don't wear the mask all the time. Wear it only when you. No, they said don't wear it.
Don't wear it.
And then wear it all the time. There was no in between. There was no. Let me up that a little bit. Now here's the stat I want at the end when we can be like baseball. Like I wonder how many on base. This is the stat I want to get. How many people in the hospitals got it? I mean, custodians, nurses, administrative, techs, because they're walking around with people. They're sticking tubes down their throat with the ventilator. They're sticking the tubes down the throat. They're the noise, because this thing is tough, and they're sputum in it. Now, why do I ask that? The other day there was a Sun, the Sun out of the UK, this newspaper, British, and they showed this person drawing, and he knew it worked because it was drawing, just like in the old days, the anti-zit stuff. Look, it works because in this picture, they're not there anymore.
Oh, you
All right.
sandblast your face.
So you see somebody sneeze, and this green cloud goes from aisle 1 all the way over the top of the frozen food thing.
I saw
and
that
it
one.
Okay, you saw it.
Yeah.
Like a mushroom cloud. This
Yeah.
son of a bitch, one sneeze, and it produced more. Okay. If I can get, and they want you to stay out of the food stores. Why? Because that's the only place you wanted to go. But they want to take that away from you too. Places of worship, okay, but not food stores. So here's my question. You could walk into a store, into a hospital, and those things are hanging there. They are just people coughing. If you get 1%, if everybody, I don't care if you're wearing one of these diving bell hazmat suits, somebody's going to get it. If they don't get it, and you're telling me this is as contagious as they say it is, that lives on cardboard for a year.
Yeah.
That would stay.
Or not at all. That was the
Yeah.
other side.
Right.
Yeah.
They're also saying it's at the bottom of your shoes. What am I going to...
How did it get there? Someone sneezed on the ground. Yeah, it's all just mind-boggling because of all the different information that we're getting that doesn't jibe with the other information. So, like the dog that just kind of sits there confused, we will do anything. If this is some kind of a test. And look, I don't know if somebody dropped this, planted it, whatever, or if it's just, let's be really good and say it's just naturally occurring. You don't think there are people that see it naturally occurring and go, okay, here's the opportunity we needed. Like, we didn't make it, but since it's here, let's see how far we can push these fucking guys before they turn around and say, no, we're not going to do that. Apparently, we bend over so easily and for so long We don't have this spirit of, fight the powers and be when we think we're in danger.
Oh, yeah.
And the government presents themselves as your savior, we will give them anything.
Do you know when people always talk about, I personally believe, though I've never seen one, I believe there are EBEs and UFOs, and I've never seen an electron either, but I think they're there. And whenever I talk to somebody, I say, why do you think the government or the news have been so reluctant to talk about this? They said, because people will run out into the street. It's a bullshit. They don't run into the street. We cower. We don't run out. We're not afraid of anything. We'll just say, oh, because we're just the biggest bunch of pussies we've ever seen. We are the worst. We just sit there. In my movie, what if somebody said, excuse me, I own a deli. I'm opening up this thing. Find me. I don't care. And all of a sudden, and somebody says, I'm Spartacus. And all of a sudden,
right.
you hear those gates going up. And people said, come on in. And all of a sudden, hey, Sarge, we got a big problem here. What? People are committing commerce. We can't. And all of a sudden, people are. And if they said, okay, well, what are you going to do? Because there's not enough. Oh, before I forget, did you see the pictures? It was a Sunday night of all of the military tanks. You're welcome. But the tanks, MRAPs, military personnel carriers on the back of railroad cars, miles long, seemingly, I don't know if those were old, but I'm getting this, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Going in. I'm saying, why are there 70,000 tanks going into, wait a minute. And they said, martial law. It's martial law. Now, on my YouTube channel, by the way, I do it 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. Why? Because I'm not doing anything else.
They also spelled it like the clothing store.
Huh?
I said they also spelled it like the clothing store.
Yes, Marshall, like Marshall Truck
Marshall
Tucker, Marshall
Law.
Fluid.
Like the Tucker
Marshall
Band.
Tucker Law.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So anyway, there, but I thought, these people have they have a point here. Where did they go?
Where are they going?
Where did 1,700 howitzer Bradleys? There's some little place in West Virginia. What the hell are these tanks doing?
Yeah, where are they going? Right.
Why do we need a tank to say, you? Remember this? Remember from Saving Private Ryan? You put the mask on. You hear them loading the, pull. Now I was thinking, they got a point here. What do they? But it just went away.
Yeah. Like a lot of things, it just goes away. It just goes away. You know what? 9/11, I lost a lot of confidence in the government after 9/11 because I, like many Americans, were under the assumption that every one of these places, like especially the Pentagon, had this magical missile system on the roof and all kinds of safety. The White House had rockets that would fire. And then we realized, we don't have any of that.
Not only that.
Well, whatever
Not
took
only
out
that.
93
Let me
we
try
had.
to give you imagine this is the size, this is the height of the Pentagon. This is the ground. This is one of the corners.
It's more like one of the
and
towers.
This plane went 330 degrees, dropped 7,000 feet, flew in, left a 16-foot hole, but there's no video of it. Not one. I'm not saying it didn't happen. So I'm thinking they don't have. Well, we didn't catch that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It's the Pentagon.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. You don't have any record of it? No.
Yeah. Couldn't some guy just have climbed the Pentagon at that point where the plane supposedly hit? Don't you think they'd have security cameras? Hey, look, there's some guy climbing the wall of the Pentagon.
I don't know.
Let's go get him, boys.
Channel 4 Action News with the helicopter.
Yes, something.
We have been we can go many times to Washington, and you have to drive by it to see it. You can't believe it. But one person told me who works there, he works there, has a lanyard, but he did some kind of, I don't know where he went. All of a sudden, he said, how did you see me? Oh, we can see you. But you didn't see anybody on September the 11th. So anyway, I don't want to relitigate that. But then again, maybe it's part of the learned helplessness where they say, let's make these people think, are we incompetent? Are we stupid? Then what about this one? You know, the greatest mind of all time was Rod Serling. Remember that? The people on Elm Street with Claude Aiken. Remember that famous
so
episode?
good. Yeah. Yes.
Now they want us to rat people out.
It's exactly like that. How come your house has lights? Yeah, it must be him. Boy, they would change a drop of a hat.
It really is.
Oh, his car started. It's him. Throw something. Yeah, guy's walking down the street. Shoot him.
It's the same as at the airport where it's a picture of the guy holding a machine gun saying how he's protecting you, but then it's like, but there's also Karen who has eyes, ears, and a cell phone.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
There's this new aspect where certain they don't want to say it. They say, well, Jewish people sometimes when they have their funerals, they kind of get close together. What do you mean about Jews? No. Just,
Yeah.
So the other day, and there were a number of African Americans who were told you can't stand next to it. They had this group. I got to be careful. Like I'm telling you that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I get you.
This group of people did not want to hear anything. They knew nothing about viruses. This is a birthday party. It's for my grandma. We're not going. All right.
Yeah.
So the Surgeon General the other day, a black man, gets up and says, now you people, I'm have to stop also with your drugs.
Oh, he went off on everything.
Even in trying to address, we've got to be politically correct in saying, I'm trying to stop a disease that could wipe out humanity. And I have to worry about stepping on somebody's toes in the meantime.
Right, that I'm upsetting someone's sensibilities and
Now,
all that.
here's another one. You're going to love this. At about 7 o'clock every night. 7 o'clock. Do you do the pots and pans in your palatial manse there? in
Oh,
your
what?
neighborhood?
Smack them together and celebrate?
Smack them. Only
I
you
don't-
can make that sound sexual. Only
Yeah.
you in your demented, sick world of yours.
I know.
And I'm sure you're
I
so
wear
much
them
you
as
probably
hats.
never go outside in the first place. You don't know
Right.
what your neighbors. You know.
I don't do pots and pans in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So
No. But we,
I don't either. I don't.
at 7 o'clock, we said, hey, isn't this great? So my wife and I, we opened the window, and I thought to myself, hey, yay, for the health workers, yeah, solidarity, ding, 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 ding. I feel like, the real McCoys.
Right,
Hey,
it's triangle.
Hey, Ashley, hey, little Luke, I've got the thing, and they got the flag. And then we did it for the second night, 7 o'clock on the nose. And people are screaming in the neighborhood here in the city. And, you go, and then one night we looked at each other and said, I'm not doing this anymore. This is stupid. I'm like a trained barking seal. What am I clapping for? Yes, I understand that there are people who work there, but no, I'm not going to be a part of it. I felt dumb. It's like, no. I'm not this, this
Right.
barking seal
when
trained at 7 o'clock to, as I, from my, I feel like one of those Jamaican, the worst prisons of the world, National Geographic, the worst Philippine prisons where you see the hand outside. That's what I'm doing.
anything that involves a group of people, I try not to get involved in.
Well, we've also been treating drag queens like heroes for the last 2 years, so why is it so bad to clap for a doctor?
Yeah, that is. They're the real heroes here.
Here's the new one for you. This is the one that is my genius. You've been to pitch meetings before, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm sure. This is my favorite. There's two I wish I could be with. One, I should say, Carol Channing auditioning, who said, listen, my name is Carol Channing. I'd like to do something for you. Hit it. Diamond jar. And they go, that's it. The second one is the guy who did Tiger King.
Oh, yeah.
This sounds so stupid. You would say, this is dumb. It's not going to work. I don't even understand it. I don't even know what this is about. Have you ever seen anything take off in the middle of a pandemic?
It was perfect timing. It's like this documentary or whatever it is comes out on Netflix. It probably would have done pretty good because, you know, it's
rednecks and tigers.
It's weird. It's entertaining. The characters are friggin' idiots. So it was, but to place it smack in the middle of when people have to stay home and have nothing else to do but watch TV, you couldn't have asked for a better timing.
It is genius. And I'm thinking, my God. Now, let me ask you, gentlemen, what have you done primarily? Is there anything that you've meant to catch up on? A particular series on TV? Have you taken up macrame or crocheting? What have you done individually?
I like the binge watching of shows that I've been wanting to get to. I watched Ozarks. I think that was pretty good. I work on my computer a lot. Is that good for saying I play a lot of video games? I'm doing a lot of computer work these days.
I wrote a book, and
yeah, he really did.
I'm almost done with a screenplay, so I'm just trying to and writing a lot of more stand-up for my next hour.
Well, it's 20 pages, but still, it's a book.
No, Dave,
it's a lot of pictures.
Dave has actually been working. It's amazing. While we all sit in the living room drinking and laughing and making jokes about things, Dave is up in his room really working.
And writing a book about when I used to drink and laugh.
Yeah.
Now, let me also tell you something very interesting, too. Very, very seriously, there's a lot of people out there who, you know, AA meetings. I mean, Zoom is great, except for the fact of the Chinese infiltration and people breaking into AA meetings saying, drink, you know.
Oh, my God.
I do that for fun.
But there are a lot of people who really did not need this now and were teetering on the edge of doesn't take a whole lot.
No, in all seriousness, it's very difficult. And it's very difficult when the only way to talk to your sponsor is through a computer. I mean, I do feel that anybody who's quit in the recent weeks, it's just not going to happen.
Oh my
Relapse
God,
is already a part of recovery. And for somebody like me, I am overworking, but it's also because that's how I have to deal with it so I don't become depressed. And I think we're not paying attention to the mentally ill in this country that are really taking this a lot harder than we're letting it be known. And that is a real disease.
That is something which is always, you know, the great Nora Volkoff was the one who turned this into, who used brain imagery that says, this is not somebody who said, hey, I'm just late. You know, there are some people, I mean, anybody who thinks for a moment to watch somebody go through such excess, to physically endure the destruction. This is not somebody who's just lazy. This is a motivation. And for people who are trying to not be triggered, not any stress, it doesn't get more stressful than this. Also, people who are spectrum disorders, people who need order, people who need routine. But here's the best one. Listen to this. I saw this great article. The people who are now the counselors are those people called mentally ill, who have been under psychiatric care, who say, oh, this is called anxiety. Oh, I'll show you how to deal with this. What do you mean? This is your first rodeo. I've been doing this my whole life. And because they're saying, no, here's what you're going through. Now you know what I'm going through. And you just can't go outside. And also the next time somebody tells you that, hey, these people live in, you know, these country club prisons, I could lock the doors of your palatial man's and you'll pull your hair out.
Yeah.
You'll be ready because I just told you, you can't do something.
You can't go. That's the biggest thing. I mean, we were talking about certain things we miss doing, and they're really kind of simple things. Me and the girlfriend going out to dinner. Like that was usually a weekly thing. We would go Capitol Grill or, you know, a nice steak, some wine, and that's just gone.
He'd have
you
the
can't
wine.
even.
I'd drive.
Yeah. But it's one of those things when you're just locked in your house. I do go out for some supplies every so often, but it's a weird vibe out there. You almost want to get back home as quickly as possible to scrub up, get all that dirty shit from those filthy people off of you.
Well, and that's what's interesting about bringing up the 9/11 thing is that kind of united the country where this has made everyone fear each other. And it's interesting that you brought up the idea of I live in a constant state of panic, worry, fear. That's my own anxiety. So this isn't anything new to me. Wiping off airplane seats with alcohol wipes is not new to me. This is all just part of what my daily routine is anyway. But the idea that you are forced to stay inside and deal with this for everybody else, I imagine that is quite difficult. And especially like him, he just wants to go to dinner. That's going to fuck up your psyche if you just can't do one thing that you're used to.
I've been frustrated. I've been feeling a frustration that I think about it and think, wow, if you are close to tipping or close to cracking or whatever you have, I go, this could really get to you because it's getting to me. It's like I'm feeling frustrated for the most part. It's like there's this frustration of not being able to do whatever the hell I want to do.
And then being judged if I want to go out with my son on a bike ride or whatever it might be. Any normal thing that you would normally do, even if you're still practicing social distancing. Like sending helicopters to find people on mountains because they're not social distancing. How much more fucking distant can you get than that?
Yeah, they were camping.
It's a control.
Now, what about your son? How old is he?
He's 5.
Okay. Explain that one.
Very difficult because he understands there's a germ. He knows he can't go around his friends. And depending on the parents' reaction, some will let them talk 6 feet away. Other ones won't even open up a window or answer the door if we're walking by. And it's very hard for him to understand. And I also don't want him to inherit the same germophobias that I did from
God, right?
I know. My mom was a nurse. I had it ingrained in me. I don't want him to live that life. And
well, you know, it's funny. That's mysophobia, by the way.
Okay.
And a phobia is something which is very natural, but elevated to the point where it's inappropriate.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with worrying about germs. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like for example, there's something about psychiatric disorders or things that are normal that are turned up. Depression, anxiety. But a little kid is going to look to you, and you've got to sit there, and they pick up on stuff you can't even imagine. And they're not very emotive. They may be just sitting there. Do you ever see your kid just sit there and all of a sudden they'll say, "Hey, Dad, yeah, I noticed you didn't have to talk to Mom like that." Or what do you go, you heard that? He goes, "Yeah, I know what's going on." I may not alert you to what is happening, but they'll think about it. They'll perseverate. It'll go over in their head.
Yep.
And you've got to maintain. How do you have the balance between being real, telling them this is happening, this is something, and because my thing would be, this is normal. This is what happens in life. Some people in some countries, this isn't the first time it happens. Oh yeah, and meanwhile inside you're going like,
and that's the problem is I don't want to normalize something that is abnormal. This is not normal. This is not the way that we should be living, and I don't want him to have panic. And I think a lot of parents are going through that right now because how do you explain? Oh no, son, ever since I was young, we would be locked down because somebody sneezed.
I remember when I was a kid and we locked down.
Yeah, I remember when we saw somebody coughing and 9 people beat the fuck out of them.
There's another thing, too, which is very, very important. Being the lawyer, I like definitions. First of all, they threw this at us and they said, shelter in place. I said, what the hell does that mean? It means, and nobody will ever say, well, let me look this up. That's what I do. Let me look this up. They start answering. So I think it means it's from school shooting parlance.
Yeah.
It's from biological, radiological warfare. We don't want you to leave and go to the shelter. You stay here and your home is your shelter. It'd be nice if they explained that. Are we in quarantine? What does that mean? Never defined. Lockdown. No such word. Never defined. Here's one for you. In New Hampshire, Rhode Island, if you have a New York tags on your car, they'll
Yeah.
this. They actually said this. And the police have decided that they will turn around, force people to go and self-quarantine. Hold it. How is a Rhode Island trooper going to force me to self-quarantine in Rhode Island? They don't have enough room. They're going to just these self-quarantine, which would defeat the purpose because they can't put me in a bunch of room with people who are self-quarantining. Kind of is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
And you don't know what I'm doing. So how can you, why are you saying that? How about this? Today I listened to Dr. Oz, and he talked about comorbidity 15 times and never explained what morbidity means. Doesn't understand versus mortality. It means illness, disease. Did you have something else? I've got a friend of mine who's suffering. Get this. She has lupus and this. You know what's getting her through it? The lupus medication, which is chloroquine.
Yeah.
And azithromycin. Here's one for you. Why are you taking an antibiotic, azithromycin, for a virus?
That's the one I don't understand at all.
It's the
Because it lowers
secondary
the-
infection.
But it lowers because what it does is it's inflammation, cytokine storms. I love that. The cytokine storm.
Yeah, it
This
prevents
is a great
pneumonia,
stuff.
but
When
antibiotics preventative.
have you ever seen Red Medcram? Great YouTube channel, Medcram. They're explaining that zinc is a wonderful thing, but you've got to get the zinc intracellular, into the cell. That's what the chloroquine does. So what do these assholes do? They go and they're taking zinc. And doctors are saying, your body all of a sudden is saying, what is all this zinc doing here?
Yeah, it's not getting into where it needs to get because it doesn't have that magical chloroquine doorway to get into the guts of the virus.
Exactly. So the reaction to this stuff is just, it's crazy. Now, how do you think Trump's doing? How do you think he's handling this?
I think what you're looking at something that is so, it doesn't have a precedent. It's so out there that we can't compare him to any other president that's had to deal with this. There have been similar cataclysmic events that we've seen more localized, like Katrina with George W. Things like that.
Yeah. Lincoln always having to explain his goofy wife's headaches.
Yeah, his wife's headaches and that dumb hat.
Screaming.
But as far as Trump, I think hindsight might be differently. History might look at it differently. But as right now, while we're still in it, I think he's doing just as good as anybody else could. At this point, he seems to have medical experts, whatever that's worth these days. He doesn't seem to be just taking what they say with a grain of salt. And he was initially trying to keep the economy from imploding by maybe when they say, oh, he didn't take it seriously. He's been taking it seriously the whole time. But he didn't want to go out and go, oh, my God, this is the worst catastrophe ever, and watch, the market take a dump. He tried to keep people a little calm, but also putting things in place that were going to possibly help. That's my take on Trump.
I agree. I mean, with all the amount of misinformation that we've been given and what he's been given and what he's been reacting to, I don't know what else people want at this point because there's nothing to compare it to. I can't really say he's doing great or he's doing bad because there's nothing in history that has been like this.
Even close to this. Strange.
Please watch if you can on your list. And I came across this. I missed it, but it's Ken Burns' special on the Dust Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Now I didn't know what I thought I knew what it was. I know a bunch of dirt. No.
Grapes of Wrath.
Yes, Tom Joad.
Right.
Wherever there's a young man beating
Henry Fonda.
Watch FDR. FDR drives up. He's always in the back of the car, and he says, "I won't forget." Yes, I won't forget you, and I'm here, and I'm with you, and all Trump has got to. Trump reminds me of sometimes Radar O'Reilly. He's a little ADD about the specifics. Here's a guy who builds buildings. And when he buys TVs for apartments, he buys like 50,000 TVs. So he's got to know each specific. And he loves to go through, we got 25 million And these numbers, 3M has just agreed, why he talks like this, to send 50 billion respirators. By the way, respirators a mask.
Yeah.
I think 50 billion? And Louis Vuitton has agreed to retrofit all to make 75 godzillion. How many this is going to be like the toilet paper. You're going to have masks all over the place. So he needs to come out, say, I'm with you, and then turn it over to Mike Pence and get off. Stop taking questions from Jim Acosta. Stop and fire Fauci.
Wow.
Get his ass. He was on the Al Sharpton show.
I know. He's been doing CNN and Al Sharpton show, and he's been saying some things that contradict, again, what he said earlier, where, this isn't going to be that big a deal. He said that. He was saying shit like that.
He said tours, cruises, right? No problem.
Yeah.
I don't,
Let's have a microcosm with all the same air pumped into each other's cabins. That won't be a problem. Yeah. One guy gets diarrhea on a cruise ship, and the whole thing looks like it's got chocolate pudding bomb dropped on it.
It's funny that you say that we went on a cruise. By the way, I'd rather lick a belt sander than I'll never go on a cruise again. But it was funny. One time we went, and the first thing was like, hi, welcome to the Mistress of the Sea, whatever the names of. And here's your information. By the way, do you have diarrhea? I said, what? How are you? What's your
That's
sign?
That's a fine, how do you do?
Yeah. Does anybody in your group have diarrhea? I said, I haven't even given you my name yet. Why? Because the norovirus was in.
Yeah.
And if you've got diarrhea. So somebody on the ship told me, listen, this is, you may laugh at this, but if for some reason, if you went to the cab and said, listen, that Cumia fellow, I was in the men's room, and he was next to me, and, well, it's a little loose. They will quarantine you.
Yeah.
I mean, with like a guard.
Yeah, they'll put you in your room, and you are there for the duration.
And
the way I
eat
on vacation, how could you not have diarrhea?
But I hope you're on a nice deck. But if you're one of those steerage...
Oh, the little rooms. You need a suite, 2 floors, big balcony. Oh,
now, you can have all the diarrhea you want.
Gentlemen, what will we not see? Will this be the end to handshaking?
Yes.
And thank you.
I think handshaking is done. I hope so anyway. I never liked it. I don't. And the other big thing I didn't like that had gotten a lot of momentum was the man hug. Now, I understand. I hug my uncle. I give him a kiss on the cheek when I see my Uncle Tony. I love him. I've known him my entire life. He's a great guy, his family. But why the fuck am I hugging some fan that just bought me a beer at a bar, and now we're embracing like we have this great love for each other? I will not do it. Now I have an excuse. I'm just going to go, hey, oh.
Do this. That thing. Where
I don't want anything. I don't want the bump. I don't want the fist bump. I like this.
I like that.
Remember that in school? You were all cool. You'd walk around the hallway and just go.
I like to take pictures with people and put my arm on their shoulder like Suge Knight would, because
Not
I'm
anymore.
insecure about my height. No, I don't
Then
like.
would you hang him out
I don't
the
like
window
shaking,
by his ankles?
Shake him down. I don't like touching hands. I don't even like fist bumping. I don't like any of it.
Nothing.
I think it should all go away.
I'm glad. Good.
I hope we live in terror of that and everything else goes back to normal.
There is nothing at all that one would have to explain about handshakes. And the good news is for most young people in particular, they can't do it because they have that limp dish rag thing anyway. So they might as well not do it.
Yeah.
Movie
dead
theaters.
fish.
Movie theaters gone. They were on their way out. Nobody goes to movie theater. I'm sorry.
No.
Gone.
Done. Everyone's got a great television and sound system.
Dick's gone. TJ Maxx.
Well, that was before this.
Disney World, tourists
Wow.
is going to be okay.
Yeah, Disney, boy, how much money they are losing on a daily basis.
I don't want to lose.
Why
Gotta
did Iger get out of this right away? Iger was out right before this happened, and now he's coming back to run it. ESPN took all these decreases of salary. Network TV upfronts yearly gone. ABC's going to say, we're not going to rent out the Lincoln Center for what? Also, digital platforms, digital, everything digital. Here's one for you. Sports radio. Oh my God. We were watching a 2008 NCAA. At first they were throwing these, what is this? Like, what is Michael Kay and Mike Francesa going to?
Right.
What?
There's no sports.
WrestleMania was a sketch show.
The mob. The mob.
Crazy.
What about the mob? What about the money? What about the numbers? What about loan sharking? There's no.
Oh, man. Even the mob is being affected. Now
Everybody.
that's a fucking abomination.
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus Christ. Didn't even notice. We are like done with the program. It went
6:11.
like
I was going
11
to bring that
minutes.
up to
Down
you,
9.
but
Conspiracy.
I didn't want to say anything. But listen, this is going to be something that we're going to remember. And I want to break it down with you again when it's done. Please
Yes.
invite me back so we can say, let's see, because it's going to take a while for it to sink
With
in.
a little hindsight, with a little time between when this ends and then when we talk about it and see what was affected, where we are, because this isn't going to be a turn the switch on and we all go back to our lives again. That's over, Johnny.
But here's the best thing. Look at this show. This is what you show. You went from a desk, you went here.
Yeah.
Because your show is about the talent. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass, but it's about the talent. It doesn't matter where I am.
Don't matter where you are.
It's about who we're, talking to. I love it.
It is a great medium, and it's just I think the truth is coming out more on platforms like this, or at least a discussion about what's being said and different examples without a bias to it. I can't watch the regular news anymore and think that I'm getting the truth. It just doesn't happen.
Just a map with different shades of red.
I've got to tell you, there are some people I'm not going to mention because sometimes they're trying, but they're saying, "Listen, you got to do your show at home." Oh God! And the first thing you do is say, "Okay, see what their place is like." Okay, well, see what they got. That's pretty weird. And then somebody one day will say, "Look, I don't have makeup." Okay, that's good for a day. And then you'll see some poor comedian who just has nothing to say, and I love it. I'm not going to mention any names.
Well, I'm right here.
But one looks like this. And so, I'm going to call up somebody, and here we are. I'm here in my home. What are you doing? What are you doing, huh? Is that right? That's bullshit.
You don't like when Norm calls up Chevy Chase?
That's Norm's way of saying how this is all nonsense.
Did you? But they look ill. They don't look well. They look like something like very wrong. But I'm thinking, what is this? But you realize it's so bad that it's kind of good in a weird way. And then you'll have somebody then somebody will say, okay, I'm going to play something for you. And you hear somebody, you think, this guy's great. Or, that's Brian Wilson?
Yeah, it's terrible. A lot of talent shows going on over the past couple of weeks.
I have discovered years ago, very quickly, and I know you got to go. I used to ask the question, why aren't there more great female guitar players? Stupid question. It was years ago. I thought maybe there was something in it. Maybe it was a very masculine thing. Maybe like who's the Clapton? What, Bonnie Raitt? Lita Ford? Who? Nobody. Well, YouTube has some of the greatest bass players. Tal Wilkenfeld. Little girl, she looks like plays with Jeff Beck. Dear God.
The girl who plays with Alice Cooper is fucking crazy good. I can't think of her name, but she's amazing.
Somebody will sit down and say, hello, my name is, she got 8 million viewers. The music, YouTube it's more important than ever. Some of the greatest musicians and people playing everything you can imagine. It's a great correction.
Yeah. When you see a 4-year-old playing YYZ by Rush.
Yeah.
It's a little frustrating.
Saw a Japanese girl play drums. She must be like, she's an embryo, I think. I'm not even sure. And Robert Plant is watching her. She's doing a Zeppelin song, and he can't believe it.
Isn't that something?
So there's this. We're finding
And he
out
was
the
doing a
great
blues
correction
song.
now. The people that we thought were terrific, well, they're not that terrific. And all of a sudden, there's this brand new elevation of talent
Amazing, yeah.
in TV shows. So anyway, that being said,
Lionel, thank you again so much. I always
Thank
liked
you.
getting your take on these insane moments we're living through in
Thank
history.
you.
We've said it before and so many times, like just when you think things have gotten as crazy as they possibly can, a whole nother thing gets thrown in and we're dealing with that. So I don't know. The next thing is Cloverfield or aliens or something, but you'll be there
I'm
and
there.
we'll be, yeah, you're there.
I'm there. Gentlemen,
Lionel,
thank you so much. All the best.
thanks so much.
Thank
We'll talk
you.
to you again soon. Be safe, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There he is, the great Lionel.